Just talk about nostalgia, walking up a steep road on this pavement with this old hospital wall on the right and this weird handrail running along a wall. Now that really does take me back a few years. Yes, it's All Saints Hospital, and I would say, yes, live to a time. But I can't, as this picture was taken a few years ago. And by that I really do mean a few years ago. As today, so nice to see they've kept the entire place so fucking original. This hospital closed down in 1999 and they very quickly demolished it and built this shit housing estate in its place. So very, very sad. These old-fashioned hospitals, such as All Saints, were so old-fashioned. They had such a different atmosphere to them as like modern-day sorts of hospitals. They were just so amazing, and there's not many of them left. I've been going around the country, or mainly London, trying to get to these places and filming them before they close down, but I'm not doing it fast enough, as these old hostels are closing down faster than I can get to them. I did get to one in Colchester, which was really old-fashioned and very much reminded me of All Saints, but they're closing these places down very rapidly. This is just so disappointing. These hospitals, I just have something special to them that you just do not get with modern hospitals. They have this such amazing character to them. And now, in this video, let's take a look around the site where All Saints Hospital used to be. Coming up here, which is the main entrance, and coming up here is where the main building was. But before we go into the main building, if we come down here a bit, it's where the sort of middle building was, and coming down here is where this annex was, which was the children's clinic. This annex building was like a cheap sort of extension outbuilding, sort of very sort of cheap sort of thing. And I can remember going in here several times and pretending to cook my mum lunch on the cooking set they had here when waiting for my appointment. And along next to this building is the old pharmacy, and all of these buildings here were just so old fashioned, and the architecture was just really sort of old, sort of 1850s and quite run down. This pharmacy was ever so old fashioned, and you have to go down this sort of passageway between the buildings to get to it. And opposite the pharmacy was a staircase going upwards, which sort of lead into the middle building and into this secret tunnel underneath the hospital. It was so awesome. It was just such old atmosphere, just loud. It was just so weird. You go from the middle building, sort of in this tunnel under road now, and up into the main building of the hospital. This was so fun. Well, about here would be the main building of the hospital, and if we look to the right from here, around the outside of the site, even though all the building's been replaced with these shit houses, the original perimeter wall is still intact. And now we go along through where the main building used to be, and somewhere around here was the location where I was born. And now going along to the left a bit is where the wards were, and going up to these wards was these really, really old lifts. And sadly, I never really took a proper look at him because this really was such a long time ago, and I was so little when I went to his hospital. It was an ever so long time ago. And along somewhere about here is where the wards were, and I have loads of memories of these wards, although not all of them are nice memories, such as the time when I was lying on this table and this doctor had his hand right up my butt trying to push my intestine back in because it had prolapsed, because back then I did so many ever so large poos which were completely undigested, and they were really splatty and full of sweet corn. Hey, there you go, I've just now put you off your dinner. Anyway, that was a very long time ago. That happened when I was just 3 years old. And also I've got quite a few other memories of this place, such as one time when I was 5 years old when I got dehydrated and they kept me in here for a couple of nights. This ward was quite weird, even though this ward I think was Christopher Ward, although I can't be certain of this because it was ever such a long time ago and I was very little then. I think it was up on the first floor, but even though it was the first floor, it sort of had this garden area outside because this is actually a sloping site, so it was sort of first floor but came sort of out onto ground level, and it's out in this yard area was loads of sort of toys and things to play with since this was the children's ward. And I think it was somewhere about here where this green area was, although I can't really be certain of this because you can't really make out where any of the buildings were really because it's just completely destroyed today. And now if we go back down hospital site and look about here, it's about here where the main entrance was, and this is looking down the road where the road goes down and then joins the main road outside of the hospital. And you can see here the road is sort of in the same place. This scene is sort of, if you use your imagination quite a bit, you can just about see, but if you just sort of like pretend all these crap houses went in and just pretend it was old buildings, scene is sort of just about how it used to be from this viewpoint. And if we now go down right to the bottom of this hospital site, there is actually one original building still intact. Looking at this building, you can now see the sort of architecture this hospital has, as the rest of the hospital was very much like this, although when it was a hospital it looked a lot more grotty than it does today. It does look rather sad really, just seeing this one old building amongst these shit houses. Sadly there's no lifts here since there's only one set of lifts in this hospital, which was the lifts up to the wards. Anyway, this is pretty much all there is to see in All Saints now. Very disappointing, not many of these old places left. Very, very sad.